Hello again, and welcome to this lab. The target of or the goal of this lab is to talk about custom data sets and how to publish them on Hugging Face. And the idea was basically because when we started talking about Hugging Face in general about three months ago, something like that, the goal of mine is to allow people from this community is to create the portfolio of the projects to land the jobs easier or easily. And when we think about portfolio in the age of AI, we think about algorithms, we think about projects that we do and stuff like that, which is by all means completely true. However, data sets or the data part of the whole end-to-end process, when we look at at a certain project, is the crucial part. And a lot of people, a lot of job seekers or general engineers are thinking about, okay, I'm going to take some data set that already exists, apply some algorithm, and that's going to be my project. However, when you have a data set customly made by you and publish that to community for everybody to use, that actually gives you more points in the long run than just doing some short project. And not only that, but in most cases, in like 99% of the cases, you won't have data set already made when you land the job. Sometimes people will come before you and then they will create a data set for you, which is like a great thing. But in most cases, you will be the responsible one who is there to either create a process on creating the data set or create the data set by yourself. So whatever is the truth, you will need to have some hands dirty when it comes to creating data set. And that's the goal of today. I prepared a lot of things for us to do today. And let me share my screen before we do so. Okay. So I'm going to share this notebook with you. This is going to be our workbook for today. We have a lot of ground to cover today. And what I did also, I created five different data sets. And this is all generated by AI. I checked out all the parts of these data sets myself. Well, in English and Serbian, I don't know Hindu or Spanish or German. So I checked what I know language-wise. And I created these data sets for us if you want to actually have some data sets published by yourself. You can modify this data just a bit and stuff like that, but you will have some data set to publish along the way. You can choose whatever. This is all for you. So I won't share these data sets anywhere else except in this live lab. So this is only for our community. So I'm going to share this this whole Lab 5 folder. And on top of that, I'm going to share this workbook. So you will have the solution, the workbook that we're going to follow, and 5 data sets that you can choose from to work on yourself. So let me do that first, and then we can start. So I'm going to mute the microphone. Thanks. So let me share this. So share to anyone, viewer. And you will be able to copy and create a copy out of it. So here is the link to Lab 5. This is not Lab 5, this is Lab 21, I think, but this is for me Lab 5. And on top of that, here is the notebook. So follow this notebook. It's going to be a workbook for today. Okay, so we'll start by talking about different data collection techniques. And I'm going to share a couple of different interesting stories when I work for different clients. Hopefully that's going to help and shed some light on the whole process. We're going to speak about data management side of things, then creating a data set in Python and uploading it to Hugging Face, and then testing out the simple fine-tuning process with our newly created data set. And at the end, we'll have advanced topics just for discussion at the end of this lab. So we'll have the mix of coding and some talks depending on where we are in the lab. Okay, so let's get started. So there are a couple of things that we'll learn throughout this lab, and we won't go into details of web scraping. But if you never web scraped any website, I'm gonna teach you how to do it today. So the data collection techniques. The tedious one, the worst one ever, is manual collection. However, when it comes to real life case scenarios, and when you start working on different projects, unfortunately, most times you won't have publicly available data or easily scrapable data. So you will be basically facing yourself to manually collect. And my wife, she's working as a doctor and MD, so she's researching some allergens or whatever. I'm not in that in medicine at all. So she's manually collecting data, and the collection process for her research is about a year. So a year-long research only to collect the proper data and store it in a format that not only is privately accessible via some portals, but also prevent for data leakage. And also its quality is really, really important. And when they started working on that project, I helped them create kind of a let's say, outline on how to structure the data in a proper way. So how to label it, how to structure it, so it's accessible via Python later on. Because some of them are coders. My wife is a newly coder, so they can't oversee potential problems in the engineering. And that's where most of the things fail in manual collection. You collect a lot of data, and when it comes to loading or using it further, unfortunately, we don't have that capability. So we need to oversee potential problems when it comes to collecting manually. The most popular thing, or the most common thing in today's world when it comes to data collection, is web scraping, besides AI-generated content. So web scraping is a way to go to a certain website. So I found this website, so let's go to it together. So it's just forecasting data for New York. You can choose whatever data city you want, so you don't have to choose New York whatsoever. And when you go there, we would like to have these data for us. Okay, so this is our data that we would like to collect, and we would like to say, okay, this is what is the period, which is this. Is it a sunny or short description, sunny, clear, mostly clear, whatever? And what is the temperature? Is it a high or low and stuff like that? In Fahrenheit, of course, because this is a US data set. So this is our task. And we need to do that via Python. And there are 3 libraries that will need to do so. One is requests, which will fetch the data for us. Then Beautiful Soup, that will allow us to explore the HTML or structure of the website. If you don't know what it is just yet, don't worry. Well, I'm going to explain all. And then Pandas, which is, of course, to store it and upload it to Hugging Face later on. So the first step that we'll need to do is to go to select the link, of course, and call request.get. This get method will go to that URL that you provide and fetch all the text from that website. And what is this text? If you go to type r.text, you see a lot of gibberish data for us. And if you go to this website and click Write, Inspect, you will see on the side something called Elements. And this is a whole website and how it was programmed. So for example, if I would like to select this, I would right-click on top of that element and click Inspect. And you see this. It's detailed forecast, panel heading, panel body, which is this. Amazing. So I can see each row of the data is there. Okay. So we would like to select this panel body. So it's a class method. And then under each of the elements, we would like to extract this relevant data. And I won't go into details of all things because it's not a web scraping class. So I'm going to provide a code to you and then go through each of the codes ourselves. But just so you know, this is really, really common. Like in a lot of companies where I worked, most cases when we miss data, we would scrape the data. So I'm going to copy this this here, and let me do it. Okay. So what I just did is this. I created this beautiful soup and said, okay, content or text, whatever you choose. And this HTML parser will allow us to pull every single part of it. So here is 7-day forecast. And if you go here, you can search, see 7-day forecast, which is this. Okay, let's scrape this part. And then for each part, which is forecast tombstone, which is element of the list, we have period name, we have temperature, and we have this short description. And if you go to my code, you will see tombstone container, which is each of these buckets. Then we have period name, short description, and temperature. Okay, each of the elements. Now that we have all of this, it's time to create basically data frame that we can store. So data frame period or whatever, it's this afternoon, tonight, and so on. Then you have short description and temperature. Okay, you can choose custom data.csv. Okay, now I know this actually was pretty fast, so I'm going to copy this code to our chat, and I'm going to wait for you to do the same thing. Okay, so please let me know if there are any questions. If I need to explain any of these in more details. I know this is not a web scraping class, but if you're interested in any of these parts, please let me know so I can go into more details. Of course, I'm there for you. And yeah, just let me know when it's scraped. Please send the URL. Amazing. Here is the URL. You have that in the workbook that I sent, but this is the URL. Yeah. And if you, Carl, if you joined a bit later, this is the link to the Google Colab. Yeah, I can explain one more time. No worries at all. So let's go slowly. Okay, so this is a really straightforward part. We go to the link, and that's it. Now, what we do is this. First off, we create a kind of an object of beautiful soup, so that, for example, if I want, let me just print it out. You'll see what this is a full website right now. So the full website, the same if I just went to this, you see? So just by providing this r.content into this beautiful soup, we get the full website. Now, our goal is to reach this part in here, okay? This part. If you right click and inspect, you will see that it's a 7-day forecast container. ID is equal to 7 days forecast container. I'll try to zoom in. Here it is. So 7 days forecast container. So what we need to do is this. I'm going to remove this. I'm done this part. So container, or as I called it here, week, is soup.find. Now I need an element that has an ID of 7-day forecast container or body. Doesn't matter, you'll see you got the same thing. If I just print out, you will see, okay, cool. So this is basically what we have. We have all of the data from this part of the website. Okay? And that's our first line. If you go to body, you'll see not much change. Okay? We get some more extra stuff, but it's basically the same. Now, the main difference between find and find all is that find finds only the first element on the page. So sometimes programmers, for example, named this 7 days forecast body, and then scroll down, and here they named this, for example, the same, which actually makes a lot of problems to us scrapers, because this part is obviously not the same or something that we want if we are trying to scrape only this part of the website. So find in the code finds the first element. Find all finds all elements. So if you have more than one, you will find all the elements present with the criteria that you set. In this case, our criteria is to find div, which is division basically, and class, which is a class name they used in CSS. So you can see here, if I inspect this part, we have tombstone container, which is this tombstone container div. Okay, and we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So all of this is basically that we need to find. So if I choose to find all, that's fine. So let me do it. Find all. And I go to items. I'm going to get the list where every single list is that one part of the puzzle that we are trying to solve. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, great. So what we did, we basically solved these two parts. Now, period name is, let's do it like this. Oops. Okay, unfortunately I can't do it. Period name is this. Tonight, Wednesday, Wednesday night, Thursday, Thursday night, and so on. And if you right click on the name, you will see this. It's period name. Okay? So if I go to the code, what I can do is this. Item 0, find where class is equal to period name. And I got exactly that part that we just discussed. Period name, period name. See? Okay. But I need only this text. I don't need this P class and stuff like that. So for that, I need to get text. And I got it. And we do that for all the items. That's why we have this for loop. And we do the short descriptions and temperature. So we are extracting basically anything except the image. So we have this, we have this, and we have this. And that's our data. Now, when I store it, you will see exactly what I scraped. So we have period, we have short description, and we have the temperature. And we got the full data for the New York City for the next 7 days, just by calling a couple of Python methods. Okay? So that's how you do scraping. Now, I scrape a lot of websites. So job descriptions, jobs. Um, Amazing question, Galdiana. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna answer that in a second. There are many benefits of scraping. Sometimes it's permitted, sometimes it's not, and there are many websites that you can do the scraping part. And I know a lot of research laboratories, like faculties, universities, that use Google Images to get the data set for their research. If you go to Google, search for something, and under images, you scrape those images, you have to train the algorithm on top of those data points that you selected. However, that's really, really dangerous. Because if you go to Google Images and search dogs, let's say that, you have a lot of images of dogs. But if you go to Tools, Advanced Search, oh, sorry, not that, but Tools, Usage Rights, Not Filterable License, Commercial and Other License, Creative Commons License. Creative Commons License means that you can use that for your research. If you scrape the data from Google Images under commercial and other licenses, they might get a cease and desist for copyright infringement. So make sure that you are actually scraping the data under Creative Commons license if you're scraping any data from Google Images, for example. Now, depending on the website itself, this website that we are currently talking about, this actually allows you to scrape and create additional content out of it, as long as you point to from where the data came from. So say, for example, National Weather Services is the source of this data. That's how you can go around it. Some websites, for example, LinkedIn, does not allow scraping whatsoever. Even if you say, hey, this is basically LinkedIn data, I'm just using it, they do not allow that. So it really comes down to the website itself. Now, if you're making commercial product or you're just doing a research, it is completely different story. If you're doing the research, in most cases, you're fine, as long as you're not putting a price tag next to your research. Basically that. Okay, so please let me know, guys. Have you done this? Have you managed to scrape this website? Somebody? Yes, no? Yes, great. Okay, the next part we want, so this is here and there, we won't spend that much time on this part, which is API-based data collection. Now, there's so many websites, we just mentioned LinkedIn, for example, that allows you to connect to their data via API. Some APIs do have price tag next to it, while some others are just open source. Weather data, for example, there is AccuWeather API that you can use freely via their API key. Now, that's basically how you can collect a lot of data when it comes to the public data set as well. Just an interesting thing is currently I'm doing a project for one client. They have tremendous amount of internal data for transportation purposes. So it's basically transportation from one warehouse to another. And we are using AccuWeather as an external source via their API to enhance our data set, because they don't have internal data information for weather data, which is really important when it comes to transporting goods from one part to another. Now, this part is for Twitter data, or X. So Twitter and X is changing their policies regarding APIs day in, day out. I found this anti-scraper, which allows you to publicly scrape their data. which is only for public accounts. And we will use that for, of course, Elon Musk Twitter account. But in the future, they might also change policy again, and we wouldn't be able to use this library again. So for now, we can. This is for demo purposes only. But in the future, we might not be able to do that. So we can say scraper is equal to emitter, and then you define log levels. Okay, to 1, and skip instance check to false. So what we're gonna do is basically, because we don't have our own account connected to this skip instance check should be false, because it's gonna check all public emitter accounts connected to this library. Okay, and then tweets is equal to scraper dot get tweets, and here we'll provide Elon Musk, mode, user, and a number of tweets, 10, not many. Okay, so what's gonna happen right now is gonna find 10 tweets for us, top 20 last 10 tweets from Elon Musk. Oops. Oh yeah, so tweets of 0. Okay, and here is the tweet, the last tweet that Elon Musk posted. Okay, and with this, we actually got the full account accessible, that is public for Twitter analysis. Now, as I said, this is a current implementation. I don't know who made the emitter, but they allowed us to scrape public accounts with Twitter. Twitter is an amazing source when it comes to sentiment analysis, collecting text data, fine-tuning your models and stuff like that. So this is in just 2 lines of code on how to scrape any public account via Twitter. And now you can, of course, go and structure this into more better basically way in the pandas, store it and upload that, or use that for your own research. Now, back to the previous questions regarding the allowing scraping or not. Because Twitter is constantly changing their rules, I wouldn't publicly upload the data scraped with any Twitter, either direct API or indirect API that we just used. So if you use the Twitter data, make sure that you are keeping private data sets only for your research, and you're going to be good to go. Okay, great. And the final way of acquiring data is either public available data sets, which in most cases we use ourselves for research, either Kaggle, UCI machine learning repository, Hugging Face data sets and stuff like that, or buying third-party data sets. So for many startups where I worked, we actually acquired large amounts of data. We are buying that data from companies that collected previously the data via any source. We vet the source first, we checked out if everything is legal, and then buy that if we see the fit for our project. So for our purpose, we won't buy any data sets. This is only for companies' sakes, but basically you can either use publicly available data, use APIs, or scrape the data yourselves. And in today's world, you can generate the data via AI points. And that is less likely to be correct in the long run, but that is a way to do that today. Okay. Everything clear so far? Any questions for me? Are we good to proceed? Amazing. Okay, so now that we are clear on the data collection, we want, I already created datasets for us. So that's why you have in the folder that I shared with you. Carl, because you joined potentially after I send the link, here is the link to the folder again. In that folder, you guys will find 5 different folders, CSV files, these files, so German, English, Serbian dataset, Spanish, and Hindu. I'm gonna use Serbian one, but you can use the English, all of you. It's up to you, basically, what you want to use. Okay? Make sure to download the data that you like to use. You can choose whatever you like. And go back to your lab. So now that we have the lab that we like to, the data that we like to use, what you can do is basically upload the data. So from the download, I'm going to use this Serbian data set. And here it is. Okay, so just copy the name and we are good to go. So please, before I proceed, I'm going to wait for a minute or two for you to download the data from the folder and upload that to your Google Colab environments. And then we can proceed. Please let me know with a yes or thumbs up when you're done with that. Great. Okay. So all the data sets are the same with I think 90 samples, the same samples but in different language. That's basically the difference. The first part is when there are different ways when it comes to data management. Because this might be your portfolio, your future employer might look at the data set that you created. There are different things that we're going to do to prevent or to guarantee that the high quality, that the quality of the data set is high. Now, this part is different from doing just a private data and you don't really care. You will clean the data later on. But if you're providing that to the community, to others, to all of us at the call, you want to make sure that the data is clean as possible, and then you can choose to either modify that or re-upload something later on. But please make sure that once you upload the dataset publicly, so for everybody to see, try to keep the data as clean as possible. Okay? Cool. So, import pandas. And the first part is to open the file that we just uploaded. I'm going to create a couple or more cells. And you'll see we have 90 rows, 2 columns. Okay. This is a Serbian data set. If you don't understand, that's fine. But it's basically the same as in English. We have the positive sentence, which is labeled as 1, or negative, which is labeled as 0. Now, when I upload the public datasets or the datasets that I want to be public, I make sure that I don't have duplicates in data. Only duplicates allowed are those that are meant to be duplicated. And I'm not missing any values. So if I'm missing, I need to explain that thoroughly to the people that will use the data. So in most cases, when you download the data from third-party website, for example, Kaggle, in most cases Kaggle or Hugging Face these days, people leave missing value, which is okay. But then you and I, we don't know why the missing value is there. Is that intentional? Is that because they lack the resources? Is that because the system broke down? So it really comes down to finding out what is the reason. Because when you're working in a data science and later on predictive analytics or machine learning, you need to know the reason behind certain behavior in the data. It can be a missing value, it can be duplicates. Whatever it is, you need to explain or clean it yourself before you upload. So let's check out if we have any missing value. Okay, we don't, we are clear. Then, do we have any any duplicates? We don't. Okay, so let's just add in place is equal to true, and we are done with the 2 steps. If we were to see, for example, okay, there are missing values, unfortunately, we can't fill in any of the missing values in a good way for this data set because it's textual based. So the best thing for us, if we had a missing value, is to remove the line. Remove the line and proceed without it. And the fun thing that I love to do is, if we are uploading the textual data, is to change the structure of it in a way that we are lowering all the data in the column sentence, because we are not changing any value whatsoever. It really comes only down to the choice of words. So if it's an uppercase or lowercase, it doesn't really matter. And it's going to be much easier for you to process it and create vocabulary out of it if it's all lowercase. Now, one additional thing that we could do here is to remove all the punctuation points. The reviews are short and to the point, and the exclamation points are not really bringing any value down to the prediction what's going to happen at the end. So we can remove all the punctuations or exclamation, whatever, and leave it without it. That's just kind of a thing that you can do as a homework if you would like to experiment with cleaning this data setting in further before uploading. But that's something that I would consider doing. Okay, any questions so far? No questions? Good to proceed. Okay. You have implemented everything. Are we good to proceed? Cool. So let's do it. Okay, so this code is there for you guys to have as a reference point, but we will not use it today. So sometimes you can achieve this normalization or upsampling or handling the imbalance in your data. Sometimes you can't. It really comes down to to what you want or what you need to do. In the case of, for example, churn prediction, you need to balance your data set in either way. However, if I would to upload the full data, I wouldn't handle the imbalance myself. I will upload it as a raw as possible, because people that are going to use the data set need to understand the full scope of data, and they can only achieve that by understanding the full scope of the balance or imbalance in the data set as well. In this case, because we are talking about the sentence classification or sentiment analysis, we can handle the imbalance data ourselves as well. Now, in this case, this code do require a couple more tweaks to achieve. For example, if we apply this code in a raw format, it will convert all of this into vectors, which is something that we don't want right now. So how would you handle the imbalance in this case, you can go and check, for example, okay, so if is the negative plus uncommon or imbalanced one? If the answer is yes, go to the samples of imbalanced part and either copy and paste a couple of sentences or create them yourselves. You can write like 10, 20 different tweets, or in this case, reviews that would be considered negative or positive in this case. Yeah. Okay. So after you're done with all the pre-processing of data, and this is just short, I would say, beginning of the process. For this example is more than enough, but basically you would go and process it as much as you can. The next step is to actually handle the metadata and documentation and actually upload the data set to the Hugging Face. So I'll need to restart my session, and you will need to do that as well, because we just installed the new library. And you don't need to execute everything before. Just import pandas, read this document, and you're good to go. Okay, we handle all of this. We didn't handle the lower part, and we're done. Okay. So the first step of uploading the dataset to Hugging Face is to create an object out of the dataset object in the Hugging Face library. So if you start from datasets, import dataset, this will fail because we don't have the datasets installed. So let's install it fast. You can install also the transformers, but we will do that later on when we start applying this to the fine-tuning process. Okay, and I'm going to remove this just not to have the clutter in our data. And this process of creating the object out of pandas DataFrame is really simple because we did all of the pre-processing in a really great way before. So what we can do is create a dataset is equal to dataset dot from pandas, and then provide the object, and you're good to go. So if I just visualize the data set, you will see we have two features, one sentence and label, and 90 rows. The rows are raw. We don't have any converted data to the vectors, so we have the full data set that is as we got it from the website, for example. And now it's time to upload that data to the Hugging Face hub. Before we do that, do we have any questions thus far? Okay. So before, in the older version of the datasets library, we had an opportunity to upload the metadata of this dataset right from this step to provide, for example, the author, the description, the data card. We'll explain data card in really soon. But all of that we had to do from code. Now for some reason, they removed that from the library. So we can only do that from the Hugging Face interface of their website. So the first step, before we provide with the metadata, we'll need to use Hugging Face hub import notebook login. Okay. Once you've done this part, say notebook login and execute. Now you need to provide your token. Okay, so let's do it together. I'm going to switch to huggingface.com. Let me copy .co. Here is the link. And once you're logged in with your account, so you must log in with your account. I'm LNSIN22. Go to settings. And then you have this part called access token. Okay? Access tokens. And you have all the tokens that you had created in the past. So let's create a new one. Token name is going to be write. So you don't have to go with the fine grains. You can just go write, because we are writing the data to our account. So dataset lab create token, and I'm gonna copy it. Don't worry if you just sold my token. Please keep your tokens privately. I can remove this token, delete it in one click. So I'm gonna do that right after our lab. But just so you know, please keep your tokens as safe as possible. Now just paste it in here and log in. And that's it. Login successful. We are ready to upload our data. Now, sometimes you will have struggles to create this dataset object out of your dataset. If your dataset is stored in the DataFrame format, it's one line of code. However, if you have images, if you have descriptions, if you have bounding boxes and stuff like that, it's not as easy as from pandas. So in that case, you will need to create a custom object that we did in the last session. So create a custom object of the dataset, and then use that knowledge to create the object, and the rest of the steps is the same. So what is the next step? Is to call dataset dot push, okay, to hub, and this is going to be my name of the dataset. So this is going to be Serbian reviews, and you can choose whether or not this dataset will be private or public. If you just provide this without any other comments, it's going to be a public one, so anybody with the link can use it and download it to their data. So you can do that, or you can say private is equal to true, and in this case only you with your access token will be able to access this data set. Now in my case, I would like to send the link to the data set to you, so I'm going to just say Serbian reviews and upload that data to my account. Okay, and here it is. You see, it's just one line of code. If I go to my Hugging Face and go to my profile, you see now I have a couple of models from our previous sessions, and I have Serbian reviews and my custom test data set that I've done in the preparation of this lab. So here is the new data set. It's see our data set, and we are created it in a really nice way. It's a pandas. It's already there to be loaded. And what I'm going to do is copy this and send the link to you. So now you have the same data set, or the opportunity to have the data set, the first data set, publicly available to your account. But this is the starter part, because you have the viewer, which is fine. You have files and versions. You have community and settings. So delete this data set. You can remove it. I think there is a way to make it private. Oh yeah, make it private. Dataset card, you need to basically write a README file, because this part is really, really important if you want to put this in as a part of your portfolio. And how to know what is the good looking data card and what is actually the data card? Well, I can explain or I can show. The best way to find data card or model card is to go to datasets or models and choose the dataset with most downloads. For example, this part. You see this? This is a model card. Okay? Great. This is an example. So let's go to the next one. This is also the example. Not so great. Okay? But let's go to the next one. This is not data set at all. Yeah, it has some information to it. Let's check it out. This is a good data card with a lot of examples on how to load the models and stuff like that. So the best way to find out what is the good model data card is to look at some popular data sets and copy their structure, not their content, but structure. Now that you choose the structured point, it's time to write ourselves. There are two ways to do that. We won't spend that much time right now. I will show you a trick on how to leverage ChatGPT to do that. So let's do it right now. What I will do is open ChatGPT, create a new chat, and upload from computer my data set, and I will write a dataset card for this data set that I just uploaded to Hugging Face. Okay. We are not working with the large data sets right now. We are working with small data set. That's why it's renderable and it's fast. If you have a big data set with images and stuff like that, don't upload the full data set. Upload the metadata out of it, and basically you can upload that to here, like a couple of samples, and you're good to go. Copy, okay, and go back to your data set, edit data set card, okay, and you can remove, of course, this. I'm going to remove the content part. I don't want citation part as well, and the very beginning, this. Preview. This is our data set. Okay. We need to change this. So, license MIT. And just write under license MIT, which is free to use. Okay. And some changes. Here it is. We have our dataset card ready to be consumed. We have our data set uploaded and our description of this. Okay, you can choose this, remove this, or change this in the future, but just for now, it's more than enough to have this data card. Okay, and this is a shareable data source that is actually usable because it has a description and the data source that is checked and researched and done by you. Okay, I'm going to copy this part. You can copy it as well. I'm going to paste it in here if you want to use the same data source. And the next part is to actually test it out to see if actually does it work or not. So I'm going to use from datasets, import, load dataset. And before we continue, do we have any questions? Guys, have you successfully, have you successfully done this part yourselves? Good. Thanks, Jerome. I stopped here. Oh, okay. Problem creating my data set. Okay, let's solve that problem. Those problems. Diego, Gailana, how can I help you guys? Galiana? Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, I had the problem with the pi arrow. I had the problem with the pi arrow. Make sure that you're installing this version of the pi arrow. So I had the same issue potentially. I don't see the error that you're having. And I actually Googled it, and they suggested decreasing the size to 1502, and that's how I found out which version it works. Yeah. Okay, we have some traceback. So let's. You try that version. Okay, that's weird. Hmm. Have you tried to restart the uh, the notebook itself? Yeah, try to restart, please. Traceback. So hiding face forbidden for URL. Okay, so this means that you haven't either. Okay, so Ishak. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay.
So here it is. So when you go to your Hugging Face account, please go to settings and then access tokens. And when you create a new token, read token. If you try to read, that won't work. So if you try to upload your newly created dataset with this token or fine-grained, it won't work. So start with a write, name it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter, and then create a token. And this token will actually allow you to upload that, but it's a write permission. This needs to have the write permission. So the error that you're currently getting is suggesting that you don't have the write permission associated with the access token that you have. So how to solve that is basically create a write token. Let me just remove this token. And then go to the lab, runtime, restart session, and then under then execute this part again, and then execute this part again. It will allow you to basically paste the token again, and you will be good to go. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's see okay, you had the same error that. Yeah, amazing, great. Now the only the only guy who actually needs to proceed further is Diego. Diego, can we help you?
Hey, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. No, I'm trying. I'm trying. So I just restart the page, but it failed again. So I'm trying with a new command. So let me see.
Okay, please look. Can I continue? And
Sure, sure. Go ahead.
amazing. Okay, so the next part is, guys, when you upload the data set, you'll be good to go. You don't have to provide the dataset card right away. You will have this recording afterwards, so you can go to ChatGPT and do the same steps as I did. But once you have all that figured out, let's test it out. So to load the dataset, it's really simple. It's basically say dataset loaded, for example, or dataset one, whatever you like. Load dataset, and then provide this. See this? It downloaded the dataset, and if I check the structure of my dataset, it will say dataset sentence label 90 rows, and that's it. I have prepared a couple of lines of code in here to from previous session where we fine-tuned our BERT, for example, model. So you can fine-tune the BERT model on your own custom data set. Just execute this part and you'll be good to go. Yeah. So you don't have to change anything under this part. Yeah.
Can we repeat the part for the ChatGPT, please?
Of course. Of course. So what I did before is basically uh, once you upload your dataset card will be empty. So the empty dataset card needs to be generated. So what I did is went to the ChatGPT new chat. Let me zoom in this part. Okay, and I just uploaded the full dataset because it's a really small dataset. Couple of lines of code, couple of lines of CSV file. So you see this, the full dataset in here. Nothing special. I just dragged and dropped it. And what I did is I just write a dataset card for this dataset that I just uploaded to Hugging Face. That's it. Nothing spectacular, no role prompts, no system prompts. I just said what I want to do. Because if you upload that with dataset itself, it's actually helping tremendously to ChatGPT understand what you want to do. Okay, so I've done that, and you're basically gonna get the full description or full dataset card. I copied it out, and I'm gonna show in a second what I did. Amazing, Diego! Congrats. Yeah, great. Uh, okay, and yeah, basically that's it. And yeah, you now have the full data set uploaded there. And I just said before, when you upload the larger data set to ChatGPT, you won't be able to upload, for example, million lines of CSV file here. It will be really impractical. So to achieve that, you can basically upload a sample, like 100 lines or something like that from your data set, and just explain that you have, for example, 1 million lines or something like that. And just write the same prompt and you will get the same thing. Yeah. So once I got this part, I clicked copy, went to my dataset and clicked edit dataset card. And under edit, I just said paste, removed the parts that I just don't want. Yeah, said here MIT. And that's it. I click preview to see if everything works smoothly as possible. It does. And commit changes. I have already done that, so I don't want to commit, but basically that's it. Yeah. Great. So now you see that my model is currently training on the new data set. No changes whatsoever needed to execute this part. So you're going to be good to go. And finally, before we close down this session, I would like to point out a couple of things that you can do in the future. One thing that is a great thing that Hugging Face allows us to do is collaborate and share process of creating the data set. So in the previous company where I worked, I organized a team of 100 plus people that labeled the data for us, and they collaborated on creating the full data set of millions of images labeled in a really high detail. So collaboration in the creation process is really important, especially if that's something that you would like to achieve in the new position. So, for example, if you're creating a data set for portfolio, it might be really beneficial to create it with a friend and say, hey, us to organize the process of labeling this data, we collected the data set in this way, we published it publicly in this way, and all of those points will help you actually shape the potential for getting the new job or just moving up the ladder if you're currently in the company. And in a Hugging Face, you can simply add a collaborator. Sorry for this. Collaborator, and people can collaborate with you on the public data sets, and you'll achieve that. Under community, you can create a new pull request and then start discussion on changing the data set. And the other thing is really important if you're dealing with public data sets but that have information that potentially exposes some personal information, let's say, and you don't really want that. So what you need to do is anonymize. Now, this is really simple anonymization method that I have in here. But if you're in Europe, if you are anywhere in the world but dealing with medical data, you really need to anonymize data set, which means, for example, I mentioned in the beginning of this session, my wife, she's dealing with medical data, and yes, she's a doctor, but before putting that to some algorithm, they need to anonymize the data set. They are anonymizing data by hand, but you can anonymize with regex or some other functionality as well. And that's something interesting that you can do and think about when it comes to data sets. And that is also a really cool skill to have these days if you're progressing in the age of AI. Basically, yeah. And that's it.
Now make sure to check out these videos on the right or the full course in the description to continue your learning, and I look forward to seeing you there.